Hello there, you're tuned in to 7Edition with me, Anon Watanasin, and these are your headlines. Ex-rock band member Akil Zainal killed in Syria after joining Daesh. Contractor sues BSN over missing SSP funds worth 490,000 ringgit. And Indonesian police identify suicide bomber who left 6 people injured. Calls for the implementation of 7-day paternity leave for the private sector were not left unheard. The Human Resource Minister today said he will study the matter and hopes to propose the implementation to the Cabinet by year-end. The proposal will also cover the extension of compulsory maternity leave to 90 days, similar to the current privileges enjoyed by civil servants.
We are hoping to do that. We hope we can enlarge it because I think it must be across the board to help people. Then I come back and hopefully I'm hoping I can bring it in December.
Why are you seeking?
By this year, that's my challenge.
He, however, said it could be delayed as there were many other matters to be debated and the government is already in the midst of considering a proposal for 3-day paternity leave. At the moment, the private sector does not give any paternity leave. Earlier, about 30 representatives from the Women's Aid Organization handed over a petition to press for paternity leave in the private sector to be extended from 3 to 7 days. The petition, which started in June, has garnered over 39,000 signatures. Police disclosed today that former drummer of rock band UK's Akil Zainal was reportedly killed in a Russian airstrike in Syria this year. 39-year-old Akil, along with his wife and their 2 young children, died in their home in March in Baghouz. He was believed to be the most senior Malaysian militant who was identified by authorities as the person responsible for various plans to attack several targets in Malaysia. Counter-terrorism chief Dr. Ayub Khan Maidin Pichai said the information was obtained from his foreign counterparts and Malaysian sources in Syria. Akil had been under surveillance by Malaysian police since 2014 when he first joined Daesh. He was reported to have taken on a leadership role in the militant movement, recruiting other Malaysians to fight for the group. A contractor filed a civil lawsuit against Bank Simpanan Nasional (BSN) after claiming the bank had lost his BSN Premium Savings SSP worth 490,000 ringgit. 32-year-old Muhammad Syukur Fairuz Muhammad filed the suit through his lawyer at the Kuala Terengganu Sessions Court today. In his statement of claim, the contractor said he had been buying BSN SSP from June 26, 2017 to December 2018 to the tune of 490,000 ringgit. And early this year, Muhammad Syukur tried to redeem the certificates, but was told that the bank had no records of his purchases. He is seeking 990,000 ringgit in damages. Court set December 9th for case remention. Now, a total of 584 years in jail was given to a former administrative assistant for the Malacca State Education Trust Fund after he pleaded guilty to criminal breach of trust involving over 2.4 million ringgit. 31-year-old Muhammad Hanifa Ismail was also given 146 strokes of the rotan. The CBT involved scholarship funds for students in the state, none of which has been recovered by investigators. Hanafi, between January 2017 and December last year, had transferred the funds to his personal bank account, business, as well as family and friends. He was sentenced to 4 years in jail for each of the 146 counts of CBT, which will run concurrently. The third criminal trial involving Datuk Sri Najib Razak over the tampering of the One Malaysia Development Berhad final audit report will begin on Monday as scheduled. This after High Court Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan rejected the prosecution's application for adjournment of the case. This time, the former Prime Minister will be jointly tried with 1MDB former Chief Executive Officer Arul Kanda Kandasamy. The prosecution's November 7th application to vacate the trial dates were on the grounds that the key witness was currently testifying in another trial involving Datuk Seri Najib. According to lead prosecutor Datuk Seri Gopal Sri Ram, it was unlikely the cross-examination of the witness, former 1MDB CEO Datuk Sharul Azral Ibrahim Halmi, would be completed anytime soon. On December 12, 2018, Datuk Seri Najib was charged with using his position to order amendments to the 1MDB final audit report before it was tabled to the Public Accounts Committee to avoid any action against him. Under the MACC Act, the former Premier is facing a jail term of up to 20 years and a minimum fine of 5 times the gratification amount, or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher upon conviction. Arul Kanda, on the other hand, was charged with abetting him in making amendments to the report to protect the Pekan MP from being subjected to disciplinary, civil or criminal action in connection with 1MDB. A married couple were charged in the Kuala Terengganu Sharia High Court today for providing prostitution services. The husband allegedly took on the role of a middleman to provide his wife to other men. The pair, however, pleaded not guilty to the charges. The couple were caught committing the offence at a hotel in Kuala Terengganu on July 24th. The 33-year-old man was allegedly promoting and selling their services on the WeChat app, where he would allow his 32-year-old wife to be in close proximity with and prostitute her to other men. Sharia Judge Kamarul Azmi Ismail allowed the husband bail at 2,000 ringgit, while the wife's bail was set at 1,500 ringgit. Their case was set for remention on January 19th next year. Meanwhile, a former commander of the anti-smuggling unit in Bukit Kayu Hitam was fined a total of 24,000 ringgit by the Alor Sessions Court for corruption. Retiree Shahidan Ladin pleaded guilty to 3 charges of receiving bribes totaling 4,500 ringgit in 2014 and is facing a 6-month jail term for each charge if he fails to pay the fines. He committed the offences in 2014 when Shahidan was the then commander of the anti-smuggling unit. At the Suraman Sessions Court, solid waste management services company Shenzhen Enterprise was sentenced to a fine of 29,680 ringgit for illegally dumping solid waste materials in February. Judge Muhammad Zaki Abdul Kudos ordered the defendant to serve 6 months in jail if the defendant fails to pay the fine. Not only was the company found guilty of illegally dumping solid waste materials, but was also fined another 11,680 ringgit for the cost of storing all 8 barrels related to the case by the Nilai Municipal Council. The Johor Customs Department have foiled multiple attempts to smuggle in fireworks and cigarettes valued at nearly 9 million ringgit. The contraband was seized at the Tanjung Pelepas and Pasir Gudang ports in late October and early this month. On October 31st, officers reportedly seized 1,250 cartons of fireworks at the Tanjung Pelepas port, with a total value of nearly 870,000 ringgit, including unpaid taxes. Just 4 days later, customs personnel seized a container at the Pasir Gudang port containing 10 million sticks of cigarettes. These cigarettes were valued at over 8 million ringgit, including unpaid taxes. No arrests have been made, and the Customs Department is encouraging anybody with information to come forward. Road commuters on the North-South Expressway were huddled in a massive traffic congestion in Perak this morning after a fuel tanker carrying palm oil burst into flames just before the Menorah Tunnel. The State Fire and Rescue Department spokesman said they received a call about the incident at about 11:16 a.m. before dispatching machinery and firemen from Meru Raya Fire Station to the scene. Upon arrival, they found that the tanker was already 60% burnt. The operation was also assisted by personnel and machinery from Kuala Kangsar and Ipoh fire stations. Due to the heavy congestion, PLUS advised those heading to the north to use the alternative route by exiting at the Ipoh Selatan Toll Plaza. For northbound traffic, PLUS has closed part of the road near the scene of the fire, while for those going southbound, the right lane was closed to facilitate the fire extinguishing operation. Former Chief Justice Tan Sri Richard Melanjum will lead a special committee to study alternative penalties for laws carrying mandatory capital punishment. The 9-member committee will comprise legal experts including a former federal court judge, former senior public prosecutor, lawyers and lecturers.
Taukuasah ini merupakan komitmen kerajaan untuk memastikan proses gubalan undang-undang ini sendiri bersifat inklusif, holistik dan efektif dengan memfokus pada sesi libat urus dan aurif yang mencukupi. Justru penglibatan pelbagai lapisan masyarakat termasuk para agamawan seperti mufti serta jawatan Islam dapat ini kerajaan ini melalui pelbagai platform semua ini akan diberi perhatian khusus supaya hak individu dalam menyuarakan kemenangan tidak diketepikan.
He added that the special committee will be conducting town hall sessions throughout the country, online public consultations and meeting the families of victims as well as death row prisoners. The study is expected to be completed by the end of this year and the proposals will be tabled in Parliament in March next year. There are 33 offences under the existing laws that carried the death sentence, with 11 of them being mandatory. Of the 11 offences that lead to the mandatory death sentence, 9 of them are offences under the Penal Code, while 2 others are under the Firearms Act. Coming up, hilarious video of a man's delayed action hero reaction. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Indonesian police on Wednesday have identified the suspected suicide bomber who blew himself up outside police headquarters in Medan, Indonesia, wounding 6 people. A police spokesman said the suspect who had died at the scene was a 24-year-old university student born in Medan who goes by the initials RMM and is believed to have acted as a lone wolf. However, police are still investigating whether he had any links to any militant group, and the motive for the attack was not immediately clear. In the 8:40 a.m. blast, 4 police officers, a part-time worker and a member of the public were injured. The explosion also damaged 3 police vehicles and 1 private vehicle. The spokesman said the bomber managed to enter the police headquarters during a security check when he sneaked in by making use of a moment where a large crowd was entering the compound. He added that before the perpetrator managed to get to his target, the bomb exploded at the car park. Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim-majority country, has suffered a resurgence in homegrown militancy in recent years, with some attacks targeting police. And now moving on to some updates on the Hong Kong protests. All Hong Kong schools will suspend classes on Thursday due to transportation and safety reasons. The Hong Kong Education Bureau made the announcement in a statement on Wednesday and urged protesters to stop all violent acts. This comes after protesters stepped up a Blossom Everywhere campaign of roadblocks and vandalism across Hong Kong that crippled the international financial hub this week and ignited some of the worst violence in 5 months of unrest. The new phase in the crisis, which has forced schools and shopping malls to close, as well as the shutdown of large chunks of the vital train network, prompting police to warn on Tuesday the city was on the brink of total collapse. Meanwhile, a police officer who was caught on video driving his motorcycle into a crowd of protesters has been suspended from frontline duty and has gone on leave. Hong Kong police said on Monday morning a large number of protesters took to the streets in Kwai Fong, and one of them sprayed an unknown liquid at a police officer's face, causing temporary loss of vision. The now suspended officer drove over on his motorcycle to help his colleague and to try to separate the protesters and police officers. The officer was attacked with a hammer and reacted by driving his bike into the demonstrators. Hong Kong saw one of its worst days of violence on Monday, with a police officer shooting a 21-year-old protester and a man being set on fire. Israel killed the top commander from the Iranian-backed Palestinian militant group on Tuesday in the Gaza Strip, drawing day-long rocket salvos in the worst cross-border fighting in months. The rare targeted strike, which killed Baha Abu al-Atta in Gaza, came as separate missile attack hit the home of the militant official in Damascus, killing 2 people, including one of his sons. The worst fighting in months began on Tuesday after the top commander was killed, accusing him of masterminding recent attacks against Israel and planning more in the near future. In response, the extremist group fired about 200 rockets into Israel throughout the day. As the rocket fire and Israeli airstrikes continued into the night, Gaza medical officials said 10 Palestinians had been killed. About 25 Israelis were hurt in the attack, some of the rockets reaching as far as Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, the UN's Middle East envoy was en route to Cairo to mediate a truce. And now let's hop on to Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. Now, we all know the classic action movie stunt where actors jump from a considerable height and roll on the floor once their feet hit the ground to lessen the impact. Now, in a hilarious video posted on Facebook, a man tries a similar stunt, but what makes his attempt funny is actually his delayed reaction and how serious he was in rolling away like a true stuntman. The video has raked in at least 313,000 views so far. Why don't you have a look? The video shows a Malaysian worker standing at the back of a lorry waiting for the vehicle to drive off. The lorry's back tires are elevated on two metal ramps, and as it starts moving forward, the fast rotation of the tires shoots one of the metal ramps out. However, the metal ramp does not even come close to touching the worker, but the speed at which it happened must have brought a little panic to the gentleman. And then our hero surfaces. Although he was already out of harm's way, he probably thought it was the perfect chance to make his dramatic escape, just like in the movies. In all seriousness, at least he had the reflexes to jump away from a possible accident, maybe just a little too slow. Good job, brother man. Now, updated as of 7 p.m, here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today. And coming up next, Dominic Thiem beats world number 2 Novak Djokovic. Stay tuned for the details. Thanks for staying with us here on 7Edition. The government's 2019 development expenditure will spill over to next year, which could provide a good buffer during global economic slowdown. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said many expenditure projects this year will only take place next year due to the open tender system implemented, which may take some time to be rolled out.
Perbelanjaan pembangunan untuk 2019 ada yang hanya akan dapat dibelanja pada 2020. Tapi belanjawan 2020, perbelanjaan pembangunan pasti akan dibelanjakan dalam tahun 2020. So untuk tahun depan itu dua akan datang sekali lah. 2019, 2020. Apa yang kita sebut double barrel. So, itu sebab ini akan berikan jaminan ke atas pertumbuhan ekonomi. Kerana 2 tahun punya belanjaan pembangunan akan datang sekali.
On Malaysia's economic growth for the third quarter of 2019, Lim said the country is expected to post sustainable growth. He added, despite rating agencies such as Moody's revising their global sovereign outlook next year, Malaysia's rating remains stable. Indications have shown that the 15 Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP countries are likely to proceed with the trade deal despite India opting to sit out. Deputy International Trade and Industry Minister Ong Kian Ming said the recent ASEAN Plus 5, excluding India, meeting showed that New Delhi still has major reservations about RCEP. However, he said the fact that the countries involved could have substantive conclusion at the ASEAN Plus 5 countries meeting, it was a clear indication to international trading systems that the countries are still very much pushing ahead with the multilateral agreement to include more countries into higher standard free trade agreements such as RCEP. Since the launch of RCEP in 2011, officials have conducted close to 30 rounds of negotiations over the past 7 years. India has decided to pull out from RCEP for now, over concerns on terms in the deal, including protection of its domestic industry and the influx of cheaper made-in-China goods in its market. Formal signing of the trade deal is expected to take place next year. Bursa Malaysia erased yesterday's gains amid cautious trading as investors await the outcome of the US-China trade discussions, which seem to have gone a tad quiet, coupled with the continuing unrest in Hong Kong. The benchmark FBM KLCI closed at 1,597.22, down by 12.51 points. I beg your pardon. On to now stocks to watch. Nestlé Bernhard's 9 months financial year 2019 core net profit of 521.3 million ringgit is deemed to be within expectations. Undermined by unfavorable forex fluctuations and costlier raw materials, the group is expected to be supported by new product innovations moving forward. Next, UEM Sunrise Bernhard announced that its wholly owned subsidiary entered into a contract of sale for the divestment of a site and building located in Melbourne, Australia, for a total consideration of 304.1 million ringgit. Now, the disposal is expected to be completed by the end of the year and will give rise to an estimated net gain on disposal of 54 million ringgit. And last but not least, Kosan Rubber Industries Berhad is expected to record a solid year-on-year third quarter financial year 2019 earnings growth. This is due to new capacity expansion from Plant 18, overall production back to normalcy following the completion of maintenance works across the group's plants, and better margins due to higher operating efficiencies from new plants. I'm Anand Watanasin. Thank you so much for watching and have a good night.